live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome everybody to Viada's Tiny House Village. We are live tonight in Orlando, Florida, where it's rain, nothing but rain. I love the rain. And there's a beautiful song that goes, thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, yay. It's a beautiful day and night. All right. So we are live now in the Blog Talk Radio studio. And I am going to introduce you to Blog Talk Studio now with our very fabulous video of our worldwide greeting. You're gonna love it. Here we go. We're going around the world.
Blog Talk Radio. Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution radio show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Yes, indeed. We want to talk to you. So that's why we're here every Sunday night, 8 to 10 on Soul Purpose Healing. I'm Viata, your host. I have a fabulous, fabulous guest tonight. My guest has so much experience, so I want you to call in and ask him some questions because he's got a lot of knowledge up here and a lot of experience. And we're going to talk about international affairs, something many people don't even think about. So join us tonight. I don't know why Facebook is reminding me about something when I couldn't even get in on Facebook. Anyway, we're back. We're back. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And we're going to drum in with Becca Shea. My guest has not arrived yet. So let's do some drumming. I was listening to some fabulous drumming earlier. Brother Eric was invited me to a blog talk show, and all they were doing were drumming for probably about an hour. It's like a 3-hour show. So it was amazing. But we do that too here on Soul Purpose Healing. So let's get your drums and let's drum in with Becca Shea. Becca Shea is a Christian artist, but she has a Native American energy and a Native American flair to her music. And she talks about unity, unity, unity. So let's drum in some unity for tonight with Becca Shea. Here we go. Here we go.
And let's let us run some people for time.
Hey,
From every tribe and language, people, every nation.
hey.
We're warriors at the falling, there's a resurrection coming. With your light, rise and shine.
Wake up, you sleeping giant.
Go, loving sisters, I'll be healed by the peace. Oh, Yahweh, bringing us
Power through unity.
we're warriors at the falling, there's a resurrection coming. I will come alive. Yeah,
Wake up, you sleeping giant. unity, joy, peace, love, 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 harmony, forgiveness, unity, joy, peace, love, forgiveness, harmony. Yes. Unity, love, joy, peace, harmony. Yes. Forgiveness. All right. Woo. All right. We're here on this February 18th, which comes to one. It's a one for unity. 2/18/2024 equals a one. I think I got those numbers right tonight, Mama AZ. So we are here rolling around on the number one tonight. And we're going to talk a lot about international affairs tonight. And I have invited a very special guest. I'm so grateful that Rabbi-Cohen is joining me tonight. Let me just tell you a little bit about Rabbi-Cohen, Dr. Shalomim HaLahawi. I think I got that right. He is an integrative physician. He's a Hebrew Rapha. He's a medical inventor and an author. This is a busy, busy young man. So let me see if he's in the studio. I do. I see him in the studio. So let me bring him in. I don't want to delay because this is probably going to be a long conversation. Good evening. Shalom, shalom, Dr. Rabbi. And who is this beautiful sister with you?
Shalom, shalom. This is my beautiful wife, Shomer HaLahawi.
Shomer HaLahawi, beautiful. How are you tonight?
Thank you. Shalom. I'm doing well.
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Great, great. It is raining, still raining. I think when I talked to you, I was talking about it's raining, it's still raining. I love it.
Nice and sunny today. Just a little cool.
I don't know if you've heard this song on YouTube. This little African boy is singing, "Thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, yay, yay, yay." And my 7-year-old grandson introduced me to that song. And I played and played, and I tried to play it for them. They're like, "Oh, that's enough, Grandma. That's enough. We've heard it enough times." But I wake up singing that song because the rain, we need the rain, and we need the sun, and we need all this pain, even the pain. I've had one person who heard that, and that line about "thank you for pain" really got him.
Absolutely.
That's kind of hard to sing about, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So thank you so much for joining me. We've been trying to get you on here for a little bit, a couple of weeks. But as I was, I said it's been a year, almost exactly a year that
I
you
didn't even realize it was that long.
I'm telling you,
so much going on.
it is going by whoosh, low, so fast.
Really.
And look at what has happened in 1 year.
Absolutely.
Are we in class big time? This is boot camp, serious boot camp here on earth.
Really, absolutely.
I'm trying to keep a sense of humor. I watch YouTube all the time because I'm in my late 60s, and every day I want to learn something new. I know about you, Doctor, but I'm learning something new every day, and YouTube to me is the best place to learn. I just type in, I don't know about this. Let me see about this.
Right.
So I have learned since October 7th, I've learned so much about that little place called Israel.
Right.
It just blows my mind. And I went to Israel it's been about 10, 15 years ago. My ex-husband was working there for Delta Airlines. And he was in a 4-star hotel and for 2 weeks. And I'm like, I need to go to Israel now while I can. So I had a free trip to Israel, walked along the Mediterranean. It was surreal.
Right.
Because I was a Hebrew Israelite at the time. So I was learning a lot of the language and I just wanted to see the place. So I'm excited to have you share with our guests tonight your knowledge and experience, because it's rare that a man of dark skin, melanin man, has so much experience in that little bitty place called Israel. And there's a lot of people who are so ignorant about that place. And yet I want you we want to bring out tonight the significance of knowing what is going, the hell is going on over there, because
Right.
it is
Um,
significant.
yeah.
So,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, Rabbi Cohen, I'm going to give the mic to you to, if you would share with our guests, some of them don't know you. If you could just share a little bit about your family, because your family was born over there. So tell us about your family, your childhood, a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, first of all, one of the reasons why I come out is such a rare and has many people from different cultures and everything says unique in who I am, my background and everything is because I decided to take a different approach with life than the Ethiopian and Mizrahi Jewish communities. Most Ethiopian and Mizrahi rabbis usually just cater only to their own people, and they stay in the background. So you don't usually see. I mean, it's a bunch of Ethiopian Jewish rabbis, and it's actually more priests than it is rabbis because the Kes, also known as which is the Kohen, and the Rabbi-Cohen, which is the Aramaic for high priest. They've always been the leaders of the Mizrahi and Beta Israel.
Oh, really?
Long before Israel was ever established and everything, for the past 2,000 years, Ethiopian Jews have always been led by the Levitical priest, the Kes, call them Kes. So I just took a different approach. I was always the little rebel growing up, anyways, and my elders thought it was just a bad idea and everything because I wanted to go and I wanted to talk to the Hebrew Israelites. They was like, absolutely not. I wanted to go and interact with the Christians. They're like, be careful. And then I started wanting to, venture out and talk to and get more, talk to Palestinians and everything because I have Arab ancestry as well. There's Arabs in our family from Oman, Southwest Arabia, and everything. But my family, both of my family, because I have Jewish ancestry on both sides, or ethnic, I'll say ethnic Jewish ancestry, and it'll be explained why I'm saying ethnic Jewish ancestry. My great great grandfather and grandfather, my great grandfather was a child. Great aunt, great uncle. What was the aunt name? Carmela, and Yochanan, and my brother. I'm sorry, my grandfather Joseph were all children when they actually had to flee um, Palestine in 1885 to come here on Asylum. But some of my family stayed back and everything because my family actually is a Levitical priestly family that actually had basically like rulers in Palestine at the time. But the Ottoman frequently did slaughters. The Ottoman they slaughtered a lot of, they committed genocide against the Armenians and still want to be in denial about that. And they did genocide against the Syrians, and then they did genocide against the Jews as well. So basically, because Ottomans are not Arabs, they were Islamic, but they're not Arabs. But they oppressed Arabs, they oppressed Jews and everything. And the Ottomans are responsible for collaborating with the Europeans to transport people of Middle Eastern ancestry, both Ishmaelite and Jewish, down to Central and South America, which is why we have such a large Sephardi and Mizrahi community down there. But some of my family stayed behind. So my family was there long before this Israel came into existence, long before the Ashkenazim came and started to immigrate and everything in mass and everything. We were there living side by side with our Arab brothers and sisters, Palestinian brothers and sisters. And, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the Palestinians that are in Gaza are actually ethnic Jews who just converted to Islam and Christianity just a few hundred years ago. So the people you see being oppressed, the people you see being slaughtered just because they practice Islam does not equal Arab. A lot of evangelicals, a lot of white people, a lot of African Americans over here, they always have that mentality that somehow, Islam equals Arab. I remember when Iran had to check Americans because they kept calling them Arab, when Iranians are Persians, and they're also Urdu, and a lot of them are actually Chaldean. So, there's different ethnic groups over there and everything, and a lot of them a lot of them actually have ethnic Jewish and ethnic Israelite ancestry from the northern tribes of Israel. People always say that there's lost tribes of Israel, and I laugh at it because I'm like, lost what? We've been around. You just don't know about us, and the West just ignorant about who we are. But we've always existed, and for the most part, I'm light skinned and compared to most of the ethnic Jews. Me and my wife are, compared to ethnic Jews and everything over in India, or in Eastern Mesopotamia, Western Mesopotamia, and everything. Where you see, we come in different shades and different colors and everything. But and Mizrahi and Ethiopian Jews, if you put them combined with the Yemenites and the Sephardi, we make up 85% of the total Israeli population and the total global Jewish population. The Ashkenazis only make up less than 15%. And out of that 15%, 60% of them genetically are not related to anything Semitic. They're converts. But the ones that are genetically related, you have to go back and actually, and it's complex. What I'm saying today, I want everybody to take it with a grain of salt and a slight shot of vinegar and everything, because it's just not blanket and everything because of all the complexities, the migrations, the intermixtures, the intermarriages, the packs and everything. Just take this as a base to build off of, to study more and everything. Not as this is just solid and everything, but this is what I'm saying is factual. I'm finna try my best to try to outdo Putin in his history and everything.
Boy, that was you watched. I watched that whole 2-hour interview. I'm fascinated by history too, and that was amazing. I was really amazed, and so I hear you. That's funny, but yeah, I mean, the man has.
Go ahead.
The man has a memory.
Yeah, he's definitely sharp and everything. And I was saying when I was watching, I was like, this man just upended me. He must be heard what I was planning on doing on this show, because I was planning on doing the exact same thing. But I loved it. Everything. But so before to get to this conflict, you need to understand.
Well, let me ask you one thing. Let me clarify something, because what I'm hearing you saying is your great grandfathers go back to 1885. They were born in the Middle East
and left.
And they left and came to the U.S.
That's right, on Aslam.
So your parents were born in the United States?
That's correct.
Okay, so you're a second generation American. Yeah.
Correct.
But how did you hear by word of mouth some of the history of that period, that land, or did you just study it on your own?
No, my great grandparents taught me what they basically gave me a foundation of everything. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I knew about stuff that was going on in the Middle East in the 80s and everything. So I was always, as I got older, I just studied more. Between the ages of 12 and 20, I was basically they would have to force me to go to bed at night because I'd be up 3 o'clock in the morning doing research and studying. And
so what did they insist on your education as far as from a child? What were their thoughts, their beliefs about educating this young man, Rabbi Cohen?
My great grandparents actually had always said that I was going to be the next priest that was going to lead everything. That's what they raised me and groomed me as a priest originally. Yes. And so when I was in elementary school, when I was in high school, I went, I was amongst African Americans, and then I went to some schools that was with white Americans, and I always stood out. Some teased me, some, were indifferent to me, and some thought it was unique, but everybody always said, you're a preacher type guy. And, my kids, they don't know much about me being Israelite. So they thought, I came off as a preacher, basically. Yep.
I'm gonna get my earplugs because I'm hearing a little static. I don't know if it's on my end or yours, but I'm gonna get put my earplugs on and see if that helps. Keep talking about your education, if you will.
Oh, she want me to keep talking?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the education wise, I graduated when I was 16 years old. I graduated in 11th grade from high school. After that, I started to go to college here, and ironically, I went to Oral Roberts University. Yeah.
Oh, really? That's a little twist there.
It was general education.
That's good though. That's really good.
That's a whole nother story in and of itself. Um, I left there, and then I went on to get work on my master's at the Institute of Rabbinical and Hebrew Studies in Jerusalem, Israel, to get my master's in rabbinical studies. After that, I went to medical school. Went to school in India. Also got in India. I got a doctor of integrative medicine. Then I went to Pakistan and extended that and got further specialties in public health, family medicine, and primary care. Then I came back here to the United States, and I went through additional medical education, continuing medical education with specialties in gynecology, obstetrics, because I used to do natural childbirth overseas, medical nutrition, behavioral medicine, and occupational medicine, as well as hematology. Then, of course, after that, I took up homotoxicology, acupuncture, and oriental medicine, and graduated from the China Academy of Chinese Medical Sciences. And the list goes on. And
Okay. So you have how many? You have children?
I have 9 children total.
Wow, that's great. And let me just say ask a little bit about how did you meet your wife?
Well, that ties into our story tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
I am my great grandfather. We share the same great grandfather. We share the same grandmother, but we have different grandfathers. So she is my Rebecca, and I'm her Isaac. She is the daughter of my father's brother. In accordance with Levitical tradition, we're supposed to marry only within our family and within our tribe. So that is how we're made up and everything.
Wow.
Yep.
Now, have you been back? How many times have you been back to the Middle East in the last, say, 10 years or so?
Well, since after I graduated with my Master's of Rabbinical Studies, my organization and movement that I do, the High Israeli Torah Brit Yahad, was birthed after I saw a little Palestinian boy get shot while he was crying in his father's arms by the Israeli military. And he died in his father's arm, and they showed it on national TV. And so I said, that's not right. And so I started to speak out against it, which I ended up clashing with the Jerusalem Council. And because of the stance I was taking and everything, it caused a lot of division. So even though they let me continue having my semester, I was excommunicated. But I was also banned from Israel under the threat that if I return, I probably won't make
Mama,
it out because they'll kill
can
me.
you hear me?
I can hear you. You can hear me?
You know what? They're telling me they can't hear you on Blog Talk Radio.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out
Can you hear me good?
Dr. V.
Yes. Hold on. Yeah.
This is so interesting.
Can you hear me, Mama AZ?
I can hear you, but I cannot hear him.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
But you can hear me fine, correct?
I can hear.
On Facebook.
Or YouTube.
You on Facebook?
I'm just on the call-in number.
Okay, let me get back to my guest. Thank you. Okay, they cannot hear you for some reason on Blog Talk Radio. So, I think what we're gonna have you do is call in.
Okay.
Because I can hear you on, and people can hear you evidently on. It's always something.
You know what?
Yeah, there's.
I mean, we could just look. I could put the microphone on there, and then we could just keep the microphone and call in, and they can still hear us a bit better. And everything. I wonder why they can. Why you can hear me well and they can't. That's.
I don't know. You know, I had so much trouble today with StreamYard, and
Right.
his voice is silent on Blog Talk. We can hear him on YouTube, so they can hear you on YouTube, okay. But they're having branding lights join the and I don't know why Zelda, our Monday morning host, says grand evening, enlightened souls, and really enjoying the conversation, but she's on YouTube. Okay. So
that might just be a glitch with the phone system, then, not us.
nothing on Blog Talk. Okay, here we go again. Oh my goodness. All right, so let me see.
So they can hear it on other pages, but not on Blog Talk.
Right. And okay, wait a minute. Let me just make sure. Okay, hold on.
That's interesting.
Okay.
The enemy doesn't want this knowledge to get out. I can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. You know what I did? I think when I put my earphones in, I cut off Blog Talk. So
Right.
Kwame, I apologize. I don't usually use earphones, but I was trying to get rid of that crackling noise. But they can probably hear you now, I think, because I put in my earphones and that's what cut you off. I'm sorry. Let me just check. Keep talking, Rabbi, and I'm gonna check the mic.
What was I saying?
Mama AZ, can you hear me now? Can you hear him?
Everybody able to hear me?
Okay, sister, I can hear. I think say something.
Go ahead, Rabbi. Say a few words.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. We
Beautiful.
got
Awesome.
we're
Okay,
back
there we
on.
go.
I apologize. Thank you, brother Kwame and Mama AZ. I cannot be putting on earphones because that cuts off my Blog Talk family. All right. So we want to go. We want to go into. We want to go into the history of that land. In fact, I was gonna, for those people who are really clueless about that Middle East, I found a map of the area that I wanted to share while you're talking. And I wish if you could just go back a little bit to the how to show how they are not the chosen people, because the worst propaganda that has promoted the genocide in that area is that I call him Satan Yahoo, has been saying we have a right to defend ourselves and we're the chosen people. And this man, right, thank you. This man has been promoting that we're the chosen ones and we got the Bible, Amalek and all this. And oh my goodness, every time I'd hear that. And people, some of my friends don't understand the passion I have about this area and just tuning in to what's going on, because I went there 15 years ago. It was free, no money. I didn't pay one penny to go from Florida all the way to Tel Aviv, stay in a 4-star hotel, and go walking along the Mediterranean, go to Bethlehem. And I came back home and like, wow, it was so surreal. And so now today, I feel like that was such a divine appointment. That trip itself, my husband went ahead of me because I got bumped off the flight. I had to go back home, take a flight to New York, take a New York to Paris all by myself, and then Paris to Tel Aviv all on standby, let me tell you. And if you know anything about standby, you could be in that airport for 12 hours because I didn't have any problem whatsoever going 1, 2, 3, 4 different states, countries, whatever. And then let me tell you this, I ended up in Tel Aviv Friday night at the beginning of Shabbat. I'm like, how does this happen? How could this be happening? So I rested for 12 hours. I was so exhausted. I rested for 12 hours in a 4-star hotel. The next day, Shabbat ended. We got up, went to eat, walked along the Mediterranean. And I mean, I look back on there, it was like a dream. It was like a dream. So now, Rabbi-Cohen, what has happened? Why do we have this psychopathic warmongering fool? And we can't leave out this government totally paid and bought by the lobbyists and all that. So I'm going to let you share what your viewpoint is about what is going on there and here, that we have to witness this horrible slaughter and genocide.
Well, first of all, I want to say, being that I'm always a balanced person. I always want context, and I want both sides of the story. So when I studied growing up and everything, and I studied even to study today, I always try to find out the history of both sides of what leads up to what. And I'm going to say that there's nobody innocent in this conflict when it comes to the governments and the leadership. That's both sides are responsible for what's happening to the Palestinian people. And as much as I love my Arabic brothers and sisters, they're cowards. That's all I'm gonna say. And when I break down what I mean, Egypt, Jordan, uh, Turkey, all of them, they're cowards. The only ones I see that I respect right now are the Houthis and the Hezbollah. They're the only ones that are standing up, and they're the weakest out of all of these powers, but yet they're just willing to stand up for the Palestinians. So I love them, but what has happened to the Palestinians? Their community are cowards, and I'm going to explain why. But I need to go back sometime and everything, and I'm probably going to end up having to explain it even after we go to break and come back. We're going to still have to talk some more about it. We have to go back and understand the origin of the Jewish people, or the people who say they're Jewish, or have used that term Jewish people, and why we all blanketly, including Israelites, use the term Jewish and everything. In before the first century, we had under the Hasmonean dynasty. After Ezra, this of course Ezra um, rebuilt the temple the second time, because Ezra and Nehemiah had rebuilt the temple, and the temple actually was burnt down. Uh, the temple was completely destroyed. Most of our biblical scrolls were destroyed. Only a branch of the Hasidim, who eventually became known as Essenes, were able to preserve some of our most ancient scriptures. Ezra, on the other hand, had to actually go and get information from all the different tribes to be able to create what we have today known as the Tanakh. And of course, what we have today known as Tanakh is not what they had back then, anyways. What everybody's reading over here is not even anywhere near our people's history, culture, or writings and everything. They're versions, and versions are not the original. Then, of course, after Ezra and all of them rebuilt the second temple, I'm sorry, not Ezra and Nehemiah rebuilt the second temple. Herod rebuilt the temple, the second temple. The temple you see over there, they call it Solomon's temple, the on Wailing Wall. Herod, who's an Edomite, he's an Idumean, rebuilt that temple. And the rebuilding of the temple by the Idumean king is where we start to see a shift in influence in our people's culture, because we had the Hasmoneans, and the Hasmoneans were a priestly, kingly dynasty. It's a priest king. The priest was the king, and the king was the priest. That's actually the Torah. That's actually how the Torah is really supposed to be. The priest, high priest, is supposed to be the king of Israel. There's not supposed to be a separate king and everything, but that's a whole nother story. So, under the Hasmoneans, John Hyrcanus decided to go on an expedition and conquer Idumea and force them to convert to what we understand to be Judaism or Judeanism. He forced them to convert if they wanted to stay alive. So there was a mass conversion process of the Idumeans. The Idumeans did not worship the eternal creator. They worshiped this other deity. I cannot think of what it is at the moment, but they worshiped another deity. Okay, so the Idumeans get massively converted. They actually form what is known as the Perusian party, or the Perusian sect, as known as the Pharisees. The Pharisees became the most populous sect and became the most influential sect for their teaching, so-called of liberalism or liberal Judaism. And then you had the Essenes, who were ethnic Israelites that opposed them. And then you had the Sadducees, who are not descendants of Levites. They were descendants of Zadok. And Zadok, of course, was a Canaanite priest that was originally established by the Babylonian culture in Jebus, pre-Jerusalem. So that mass conversion led to the Perusian becoming the largest party. And of course, the Idumeans brought their traditions in. Nothing necessarily wrong with their traditions, but they're called the traditions of the fathers. And those are the traditions that some of the prophets had a problem with and mentioned about the mitzvah of men. You hear in the New Testament, Yeshua arguing with these Pharisees and people because they was trying to impose laws that did not exist in our culture and everything before. Now, oral laws did exist. The oral law is definitely mentioned in the Torah as being valid because that's statutory. You have to have statutory laws to make a constitution work. Same with the United States. So let's go. So the Pharisees became predominantly Idumean. There were a small sect of Pharisees that broke away that were Israelite and also had Levitical priests. Like for example, Josephus, who wrote the complete works of Josephus, thankfully we had that he was able to do that. He was a Levitical priest, but he was also from the sect of the Perusian, which was and everything. And he actually leaned more toward the Essenes because there were things in common between the Perusian, the Essenes, and everything. So during AD 70, when after the brother of Yeshua was assassinated, his name was Yaakov Zadik, he was assassinated by Apostle Paul, as Pseudo Clementine I mentioned. That sparked the war between the Romans and the Judeans. The Pharisees, the Essenes, all of them took up arms and fought the Romans. The problem that came in with this is that the Idumeans, who had the rabbis, decided to make a pact with the Romans to sell out the Israelite peoples and allow themselves to pass through and survive while the Israelites, the Essenes and everything were decimated. They literally betrayed the Israelite peoples and everything and created rabbinical Judaism with the help of Rome. So our people end up being decimated in Jerusalem. And they, of course, they destroyed Jerusalem. They sent a lot of our people into slavery, all of that stuff there and everything, while the rabbinics, the Idumeans, get to live on, protected under the Romans, and yet we continued, a war for another 135 years. And some Idumeans joined. That's the fact and everything.
Okay, let me pause for a minute, because I was thinking about what you said, how they're cowards. The Egypt, Jordan, and Turkey are cowards, and I don't know how many people but how the Israel is surrounded by these countries. I'm gonna just show them. Egypt is right over here on what is that? The west side. Jordan is over here. And then you got Syria up here. And I don't know who's over here up north of Syria. Is that Saudi Arabia? No, I'm not sure who's over there. But
kind of jumping ahead because I wanted to get to that, but we're jumping ahead a little bit.
No. Okay, so I just wanted to point out to everybody. You said that you think these Arabs are cowards, and Egypt, Jordan, and Turkey, and all of them are surrounding this place. So it almost that seems to be the reason why the slaughtering is continuing.
Well, we're going to get to that. Trust me.
Okay. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So we're still at where the Idumeans sold out the Israelite peoples, the Essenes, and everything in Jerusalem. Keep in mind, we had a colony in Egypt. They were unaffected. We had a whole community in Ethiopia. They were unaffected because even Christian scholars have mentioned the Ethiopian Jews and everything, and even described the ethnic Israelites as looking just like Ethiopians. And then we had Israelites that were already in Eastern Mesopotamia and India. So we only seen the decimation of the people in Jerusalem, first and foremost. And it wasn't everybody. But the fact of the matter is that Idumeans sold our people out and then took over our faith and culture and made themselves the moral leaders of our history and everything. Now, those Idumeans, of course, established what became known as Sephardi Judaism. And of course, Sephardi, many of the European Sephardis will tell you that they come from Spain and that Sephardi means Spain. Spain was Sepharad. That's far from the truth. There's nowhere in history where Spain is called Sepharad. They are actually from the Jews that dwelt in Oman, in Sepharad. In the book of Better Sheep, it talks about the Hebrews who dwelt in Sepharad. Well, the Hebrews, both that include Edomites, Edomians, that includes Ishmaelites, and that includes Israelites, because we're all Hebrew. All of us are the sons of Abraham, so we're all Hebrew. Um, and so that's where the Sepharad community came from, because the Jews that lived in Sepharad and the Yemenites, which basically followed the same branches of Judaism and culture and everything, during the Moorish Empire, they actually went and started converting people in Europe to that brand of Judaism, just as the Moorish were converting people to Islam. But going back, so after rabbinical Judaism was established and everything, you had a separate sect of people, and it's all that lived in Iran, known as the Scythians.
Mm.
The Scythians, as the complete works of Josephus and the Talmudic rabbis said, were synonymous with Ashkenaz, the Sumerians, the Gomerians. Gomer was the father of Ashkenaz in the scriptures, and also I said Ashkenaz, the Gomerians, and and the Sumerians. They were an Iranian people. They were not. Ashkenaz is not associated with white people. First of all, that's a lie. And the reason why is because Ham, as I stated before, and I think I said this in the previous interview, Ham, Shem, and Japheth are not white, African, and Asian. Ham, Shem, and Japheth had the same father and the same mother, just like my children. So, and even the Talmud says that Shem was dark. And look, when we talked, I said he was dark but comely, which is my complexion to you and my wife's complexion. It said that Ham was darker like a raven, black like a raven, and said, but Ashkenaz, I'm sorry, Japheth was white. Now, if you have two parents of the same culture and ethnicity that produces children, and one of them come out as white, what is wrong with that child? He's just an albino. He's not another race.
Right.
Now, just because he's an albino don't mean his whole genetic gene pool are all going to be albino.
Right.
So, of course, his children are most likely definitely going to look like Ham's children and Japheth's children. There's going to be probably different complexions based off of who they marry.
Right. Right. They
So,
still have albinos in Africa.
right. So Ham, Shem, and Japheth, there's no Hamites did not dwell in Africa. Hamites dwelled in eastern Mesopotamia, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. That's the region where they dwell, because they still exist to this day and everything. Just like the Chaldeans and the Urdus, all of them still are alive and well. I've met them and everything. I met some of them face to face, and some of them are my allies and everything. Because of the Urdu in Pakistan, I helped the first Jew of Pakistan to be able to register and be able to openly practice Judaism, and everybody supported me. Even the extremists don't even bother him. So I know that all of these people still exist. They've always existed and everything. So here we are with Ashkenaz. Remember, Ashkenaz is the uncle of the children of Shem. So we get all these Ashkenazis and everything. They're uncles and aunties, basically, if you want to put it like that. They're cousins. They're just as much as cousins as the Ishmaelites and the Edomians. We're all cousins and everything. So this is not white. This is not about white people versus Africans versus Asian and everything. First of all, the Bible does not talk about all races. Most European cultures and everything, the Bible does not raise issue at. Doesn't mention people in Africa. Most people, especially like southern and beyond the Sahara, are not mentioned in the scriptures. Most of the people in Asia are not mentioned in the scriptures. We know Native Americans and stuff, they're not mentioned in the scriptures, because that's not what the focus was. This whole concept of the races and everything coming from Ham, Shem, and Japheth started with rabbinics. Some rabbis who wanted to try to create tables and everything, and it was based off of racism and everything. So Ashkenaz, the Ashkenazim, the Sumerians, the Gomerians, all of them decided to migrate together, because the different children of Ham always dwelt together. The Hamites, their people had different tribes and different nation stuff. They dwelt in a certain region. The Shemites dwelt in a certain region, and the Japhethites, it's like they all hung out together based off of kinship and everything. So the Ashkenaz was the largest population of the Sumerians, the Gomerians, and everything. And so when they migrated to what is now Ukraine and parts of Russia and everything, they established a nation called Khazaria. It was a very advanced nation. It wasn't not no savage nation. It was a very advanced, intelligent nation and everything. And everybody just decided, because of population and influence, because Ashkenaz was really the leaders and the most influential, everybody just decided to call themselves Ashkenaz and everything, even though they were Gomerians, Sumerians. Oh, and also, I know the name I forgot, Gog.
Gog.
Gog is part of the Ashkenaz, the Sumerians, the Gomerians. All of them were together and everything.
You mean like Gog and Magog?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
part of them. And Josephus identifies them as that, and the Talmud. All of that. This is confirmed by our own history and everything.
Right, right.
They established Khazaria, which was an advanced nation and everything. And they wanted, the king wanted to see which culture and which religion was the most influential. And this was standard history when I was growing up in the Jewish community. They want to deny it now because their identity is being questioned and everything. But in white synagogues, the conservative synagogues I went to when I grew up, we learned that the story of the king who decided to call in a rabbi and some Levitical priests.
And you said the Khazarians?
Yes, the king of Khazaria stated is the document. He stated he was Ashkenazi, and he wanted to find out which religion was the most popular. So he brought some imams, he brought some Catholic bishops and priests, and he brought some rabbis, which were Idumean, but there were some Levitical priests that accompanied them.
That is a big debate on YouTube. Khazars, were we Khazars? Were we not?
So they had a debate. He had them to debate and state their faith and everything. And he said he noticed the Muslims and the Christians will always quote the Hebrews or the Hebrew scriptures, but when the rabbis and the priests would speak, they would never use the Christians and the Muslims for reference. So he determined by that the Hebrew scriptures was superior, and so he issued a decree to make Judaism, Idumeanism, that's really what it is, Idumeanism, the state religion. And it was passed off as Hebrew culture. Now, Idumeanism is Hebrew culture, yes, but it's not Israelite. That's the big difference and everything. Keep in mind, Idumeans do not worship the Creator before they converted, and they did not worship the eternal Creator after they converted, because the Pharisees outlawed pronouncing the name of Yahweh. And they still to this day, they worship God, they worship Hashem, they worship Adonai. God is the Babylonian deity of good fortune, capitalism, and everything. God's wife was named Many, where we get the word money from. That's a fact. And that's why on the dollar, and God we trust is not talking about the creator of Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and Jacob. It's talking about the Babylonian deity of capitalism, fortune, and
Okay,
wealth.
you're blowing my mind again, Rabbi-Cohen. Boy, oh boy, you are really opening up some really important information here.
So
God. Can you repeat that? What God stands for? Because I just tell people I don't use that anymore. It's just too much history. Please repeat what you just said about God.
God is the Babylonian deity of fortune, capitalism, and wealth. And it was adopted by Israelites, some Israelites that were made captive in Babylon. Because when they came out of Babylon, some of them brought some of the Babylonian traditions back and everything. The Idumeans were also involved with Babylonian culture. So that's why the Pharisees, which became the rabbinics, their calendar is a direct replica of the Babylonian character. Every Babylonian deity is still on our Jewish calendars, but we're talking about we don't practice idolatry.
And then what about Adonai? Where'd that come from?
Adonai is fine. That's a reference. Adonai is plural and everything, just like Elohim is plural. Those are references in the Torah that refers to Yahweh and everything. And also Elah, where we get the word Allah. That's how we pronounce the creator's name in Aramaic and Arabic. It's Elah. So just like they say they use God, not so we don't profane and misuse the divine name, we use the word Elah to refer to the creator, Yahweh. And we also, and sometimes you hear see me write Yahweh Elah to refer to the creator and everything. So they don't worship the creator of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They never have.
You talking about the Zionists?
The Idumeans, Rabbinic Judaism, Zionists, and non-Zionists. Now, there's non-Zionists that are good people. They still don't worship the creator. But let's go back. So after the mass conversion of Khazaria, the movement started to move throughout from Eastern Europe, throughout Western Europe, and more people started to get converted and everything. That's why when they did genetics, they could trace the majority of those who identify as Ashkenazim to just a few women that lived in Europe. And those women were not Semitic. Now, genetics has shown that 40% of those who identify as Ashkenazim are in fact of Semitic origin, which means it's most likely Idumean. But that's still too blanket because remember, Ashkenaz are related to Israelites and Idumeans. So they would have similar genetics to us anyways, by virtue of the fact that there are cousins and aunties and uncles. So when you take their tests and everything, and keep in mind, the tests are not advanced enough to be able to do all of this uncle, auntie, and all this stuff here. They just know those people are related to us because they're supposed to be. And just because you're not Semitic doesn't mean you're not related to us, because Semitic just means you're descendants of Shem and everything. But Japheth and Hamites are related to us. So we're going to have similar genetics when you take the test and everything. Because remember, keep in mind, it doesn't mean African, it doesn't mean Asian, and it doesn't mean white. It just means we're all from one specific origin of cousins, uncles, and brothers and sisters and everything. So 40% of them are related to us some way. It may not be Shemitic, but they're still related to us. Now, watch this. You can sometimes tell physically which Ashkenazim is related to us, whether they ship Semitic or not, because they have this kind of complexion that's a little darker in ethnic features. With the converse, they just look like typical Europeans and everything. Now, when it comes to attitude and everything, I believe that because of genetic relation, those Ashkenazim who are good toward Palestinians, who do stand up for Palestinians, who do stand up for ethnic Jews and that are discriminated against the Zionists, who do stand up for Beta Israel and the Mizrahi, the Sephardi, and the Yemenite, who are marginalized, I believe they stand up for us because those are the ones who are the 40% that's genetically related to us. The ones who are hostile to us are the ones that are converts and are from different tribes and everything that are known for barbarism, savagery, and everything. Because if you go back and look and everything, the term Jew has over 15, 20 different variations of its name all throughout the history of its existence for the past 2,000 years that is completely unrelated to our people and our scriptures and everything. The word Jew used to be G-Y-U, G-U-E-I-E-W-E-S. They went through a whole list and everything, and it didn't become the word Jew until it became a corrupted form, contracted and corrupted form of the Latin words in the 18th century. There was no such thing as a Jew until the 18th century. If you go back and look at any scriptures or any scriptures and everything, that the St. Jerome Vulgate scriptures of the 4th century use Yadeos to refer to the people of Israel and Judea and everything. There was no word Jew. When you look at the King James, the 1611 version, they did not use the word Jew. It was the word Yewes, which was I-E-W-E-S. Nobody you never heard, nobody on the planet heard of the word Jew until it appeared in the 18th century in the new translations of scriptures. And when they released the scriptures and people saw it in Europe and the Vatican and the priests and all that, no one disputed it simply because no one knew the history of it or how it even came about, because they didn't even see it as being associated with these people who called themselves Jews in the first place. They're from Europe and everything. They didn't see no linguistic relation, so it was never disputed and everything. So it was assumed that this was just a reference to the people of Israel, when in fact it was a reference to people who are not even descendants of Israel that lived in Europe and went by these different names. And so eventually, over time, with white revisionism, keep in mind during slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, apartheid, and all this, white people engaged in heavy revisionism.
Okay, let me pause you. That static just came back. I don't know what your wife did, but the static the static left when she left, and then it started again. So do you have like a mic or something you're using?
Yeah, we both have mics on.
But when she left, the static stopped.
I'm gonna put it on the other side so it don't be close to me. Maybe
Yeah, that maybe because your mics are
is it better now?
still static.
Hold on.
Yeah. So I don't know if both of you, maybe one of you don't need a
Hold on.
mic.
How about now?
Keep talking.
Okay, can you hear now?
Gone.
It's
Yeah.
because we have two mics that's sitting there by us. We got this little
Yeah.
all
Thank you,
technology
sis.
thing.
Thank you. That's better. No static now. You did the right thing. Okay.
Good. Okay.
So
Okay.
you know what? When I was when I was studying Hebrew as a Hebrew Israelite, I always thought the word Jew came from the tribe of Judah. Is that the way you think most people are thinking and believing?
In the 19th century, that's when they started to forge that and everything. Keep in mind, and I always challenge every scholar, including Jewish rabbis and stuff like that. This is how I trip them up with a simple thing, and they have to admit once this, because it's universal, it's objective, you can't dispute it. When it comes to proper nouns, person, place, or thing, a person's name cannot be translated from one language to another. It has to be transliterated. So if you take a Hebrew word, say Yerushalayim, and then call it uh, Jerusalem. Jerusalem and Yerushalayim is not the same. I mean,
Right.
it really
Right.
isn't. Jerusalem is a corrupted form of Yerushalayim. But say for example, my name is Shalomim, and you decide you want to call me peace offering because my name means peace offering. Okay, well, that's a translation. So if you actually read about me and somebody just translated my name and kept referring to me as the peace offerer, that's the translation.
Right.
In German, my name is Shalomim. In Zulu language, my name is Shalomim. In Arabic, my name is Shalomim. In Sanskrit, my name is Shalomim. In English, my name is Shalomim. No matter what language it is, you have to call me Shalomim. If you call me by any other name, if you try to call me Solomon,
Well, that's always been the debate about Jesus and Yahushua. Once we learned about the Hebrew, Aramaic, Yahushua or Yahshua, and then we would talk about, okay, transliteration. You can't do that. You can't do. But here we are, people still hanging on to Jesus, and then there's the Yahshua. But that
yeah,
makes
Jesus,
sense.
Jesus and Yahshua are both pseudo terms in a violation of international rules of translation and transliteration. Those are forgeries based off of agenda, just like God replacing Elohim when God is singular, Elohim is plural, or the Lord being used to replace Yahweh. Those are translations. Those are violations of the universal laws that they teach you in college and teach you in school that you're supposed to abide by. But when it comes to religion, they want to violate. So there's no way the word Jew or GUY, GUE, whatever you want to call it, JEWS and everything, it cannot be associated with the word Yadeos in Hebrew or Yehudim in Aramaic. Um, it can't be, it's no association because it's not even linguistic related and everything. So to say that the word Jew is a reference to the word Yehuda or Yehudim is a forgery and a fraud that started in the 18th and 19th century with them plotting to overtake Palestine.
Wow.
So, and keep in
So
mind,
much manipulation, it's like of history, of names, of words, and so do you think, Rabbi, that we are in a season of coming out of that with a spirit of truth? I call Yeshua the Messiah, spirit of truth. And I believe that what scripture tells us about Messiah coming back is all coming back in here. The spirit of truth, that's how I see it. But do you think we're in that starting to rise up, that spirit of truth where all these myths and confusions and mistranslations are now being exposed?
I think a lot of people are going to stay in deception and and just stay with that and everything. Based off of my interaction, like for example with the Hebrew Israelites, they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in promoting a narrative. Evangelical Christians, when they say I stand with Israel, they're talking about I stand with white Israel. That doesn't include people who look like me and everything. They want to control the narrative and and everything about what a Israelite looks like and everything. That's why when they started revising the scriptures and everything, um, I called it Tanakh today, the King James Version, the JPS, the NIV. They're all Talmudic companion Bibles. Now, I'm not saying anything is wrong with the Talmud. I'm saying those scriptures was created after the Talmud was created. Now, going back to the whole thing about the Idumeans not worshiping the Creator, they noticed they actually also followed the Babylonian Talmud instead of the Palestinian Talmud. They used to actually call it the Palestinian Talmud. You hear these Zionists going around talking about there was no such thing as Palestine, while we sitting up here with a big old book called the Palestinian Talmud and everything that was written 100 years before the Babylonian Talmud. But everything about them is geared toward Babylonian culture and Babylonian traditions, the calendar, even the yarmulke and everything is associated with that. Now, that don't mean that is necessarily bad. I'm just pointing out that's the factual history and everything that they're promoting. They're not promoting Israelite culture and everything. So now, the Ashkenazim, the ethnic Ashkenazim, were actually basically outpopulated, just like the Perusian, like the Israelites was outpopulated by the Idumeans. The Idumeans became outpopulated by the Ashkenazim. Because remember, the Ashkenazim are not Idumean, but they follow Idumeanism, the Idumean culture. So the Sephardi today are the Idumean. And as far as I'm concerned, they're righteous. They're part of our covenant. They're part of our people. They're family. They're good people and everything. And they go through the same struggles that we go through. So they're on our side, even though they're most of them are Idumean. But once again, this is not blanket because you have Israelites, ethnic Israelites, who follow Sephardi traditions and everything. Um, so the Idumeans got overtaken and outpopulated by the Ashkenazim in Europe and everything. So now we have this entity pop up like a gang and starts causing problems in Europe. The Bolsheviks. Uh, you have all of these revolutions and everything, and every time you see a revolution, you see a collapse, you see a problem, all of a sudden these Gayus, these Jews, these people, these Ashkenazim become the forefront and they're kicked out of the countries. So we get to the Holocaust, right? Now, keep in mind, during all of this time, ethnic Israelites and some Jews, Dumians, all of them in Palestine living together, suffering together, coexisting for over 1,000 years. No problems, except with the Ottomans and the Europeans who exploited them and everything. That's why the majority of most of the descendants of slaves in Brazil and Colombia and all of them are descendants of Ishmaelites, Israelites, and Idumeans. That's a fact. So we get to the Holocaust. Both Arabs and Zionist Jews tried to make alliances with Hitler. That's established fact that the Zionists asked Hitler to let them fight with him to conquer the whole entire Near East. That's a fact. And there's nobody who's an honest, decent person can dispute that in Judaism whatsoever. Not a rabbi or a scholar. That's a fact. But the problem is
Zionists were partnering with Hitler.
they wanted to partner with Hitler, and they made a deal. Well, I'm gonna go back up to that. They wanted to partner with Hitler, but so did some of the Arab peoples. So both of them were petitioning to be allies with Hitler. Now, this is where we're getting into both of the problems. Okay, so we have these Ashkenazim being slaughtered along with Russians, Poles. All of these people have been slaughtered by this maniacal dude who created oxycodone, who created all these drugs and everything, and drugged even his own military. Okay, so he's murdering them while Zionists are making pacts with him. showing that they have no regard for the decent, what has been what some people call, some religious leaders, I'm talking about, called the little Jew. The big Jew, the Zionists, decided to use them to exploit a colonial project. Now, during the Holocaust, right before the Holocaust, the Zionists wanted Uganda as its homeland, a Jewish homeland.
Uganda?
Right, they wanted Uganda.
Wow.
If they would have got that, then right now we'd be talking about Ugandans being murdered in mass.
Oh my goodness.
But but what happened was, while they were planning to colonize Uganda with the permission of the Ugandan government, by the way, the Palestinians said, we'll help you and we'll open our doors to the Jews who were being slaughtered. Now, this is a fact. There was a debate between all of the Arab nations and everything. I've seen the newspapers, I've seen the writings, I've seen all the arguments. And most of the Arab nations said, yes, let's let the Ashkenazi Jews come in because they would be great for economic development. They said that themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They said it'd be great for economic development and to create wealth and develop the land. They said that. So they're coming up with a plan that they think is good under the idea of coexistence and peace. While the Zionists saying, let's not use Uganda, let's switch it in. Let's go to Israel, but let's go and overtake it and wipe out all the people there and replace it with our culture, become the dominant culture. So you got one who's receptive, you got another one who's exploiting good Jews who are in need of help. Now, there was still a minority faction of the Arabs who did not like the plan from day one. But because they had their own press, they actually was able to amplify their voice in the Arab world bigger than what it's supposed to be. Same thing that's going over in the United States and everything. All the stuff you see that the media is instigating, and this is just a comparison, all the stuff you see the media instigating about racism, about the genocide of black people, about the skinheads and the Ku Klux Klan and all this stuff here, all of those are minority fringe people. Out of 350-some million people, we're going to let a little fringe people, because the media broadcasts these people and giving them a platform, make us think that our country is in such a crisis. When every day I go out, I see white people. Hey, brother, how you doing? I see black people. Hey, brother, how you doing? I see Asians. Greetings. Everybody's kind of nice to each other. Where's this hate and this and everything? You would think based off of the media and how these fringe groups think that as soon as you walk out your door, police just gonna start blazing. White people or black gonna start lynching. Black people just gonna start beating the hell out of white people, and it's just gonna be a race war. That's a goddamn lie. All of it is lie. It's race hustling and it's foolishness, because you're giving fringe groups a voice that they should not have, which is creating conflict that shouldn't exist. That's what was going on in Palestine. So you had and the voices that resisted evolved into what we understand now as the Islamist militants, the radicalized ones. So they let the Jews come in originally in numbers. There was a certain amount allowed in each wave. But the Zionists infiltrated the groups with arms. They were sneaking in guns and missiles and bombs and stuff. When the Arabs found out, they stopped the refugees from coming in and everything, because they found out and they started to oppose, and they started to take up arms because they saw these white Jews taking up arms and everything. And before you know it, there's a mass conflict between Zionists and the local populations. Now, that also means there was conflict with ethnic Jews or ethnic Israelites as well, and everything that they keep calling Palestinians. Okay, so there was some more refugees that were supposed to come, and they said absolutely not, and everything. And still, those refugees came in and everything, and they tried to paint them as poor, as destitute, as hungry and needing everything on the ship, and they were fully armed. And they got loose, and they went haywire and started attacking the people. They literally attacked the British Army and killed British soldiers and hung their bodies up on poles for everybody to see. This was Zionists did to the British.
Wait a minute. I thought the Balfour Declaration was put in by the British.
That was after that.
Oh, after that. Okay.
They basically ran the British out of Palestine. The British left. And once the British left, Israel started a started a war with them. They created the Nakba ethnic cleansing. They declared Israel as a state. They tried to poison Palestinian whales to try to kill as many Palestinians. They was indiscriminately killing Palestinian women. You got these old clowns on video laughing and telling a documentary telling about what they did to the Palestinians and how 14-year-old girls were being raped by the soldiers and how they was killing babies and everything and laughing about it, doing interviews. So this is documented. I'm not making this up and everything. So you end up with this full conflict and everything, and all of these people are driven out and everything. Keep in mind, we're talking about Israelites too. Now, this is not the first time an incident like this happened. The book of Ezekiel, I believe 38, actually mentions almost verbatim an incident that happened by this, and he said that it was God who did it. Came in and said he slaughtered Israelites and the local population. It gives in detail. If you read the book of Ezekiel 38, it's almost verbatim what you see in today with what the Zionists are doing to the Ashkenazi. Now, in their plot to take over Palestine, they also had in their agenda to wipe out the Mizrahi culture and influence to replace it with their own. So they had no intention of just wiping out the Palestinian Arabs. They said in their own charter and out of their own mouths, they were going to wipe my people out too and replace it with their culture. And that's exactly what they did. Mizrahi and Yemenite and Ethiopian Jews are the most marginalized people in Israel. Now, Ethiopian Jews ended up there as basically as a shield.
Mm.
It was a shield because the international community started calling Israel racist and apartheid. And so they wanted to make sure they had more faces that were darker to say, hey, look, we're not racist by bringing these people over. But when they bring them over, a lot of Ethiopian of my brothers and sisters committed suicide. A lot of them
Woo.
turned to drugs. A lot of
Really?
them gave up the faith and everything because they had long and hoped seriously to return to the homeland, and they were duped into believing this was the prophecy being fulfilled. And then they come and they're treated like animals. They're
And then
told
they sterilized the women, didn't they? Some of the women, didn't they?
later on they sterilized the women. They have the scandal called the ringworm scandal, where they took Sephardi kids. Excuse me. Give me a second. They took Sephardi kids and Mizrahi kids and poured radiation over their heads. It was like this. It's been associated with like the Tuskegee experiment. They poured radiation over these kids' heads, and these kids suffered in mass and has long, horrible, horrible, painful deaths and everything. Um, they they had the segregation policies. It was only until some years ago that they started to try to, fix, act like they were going to fix things with the Mizrahi and the Ethiopian Jews and everything, and give more rights. And they started recognizing the Ethiopian Day of Sukkot and everything, which is after Yom Kippur and all of that stuff there. But um, Israel was segregated. These from day's care to high school and everything. The Ashkenazi Zionists didn't want Sephardi, Mizrahi, and Ethiopian kids going to the same daycare as their children. They didn't want them to go to the same elementary school as their children. So we were segregated, and we still are, and everything. And so now the Ashkenazis do all of this brutal stuff and everything. Then they start to revise history and now trying to argue and say, well, we've always been here. This is our ancestry and everything, and we're just coming back to our homeland and everything. And they're doing it because they're piggybacking off the very people they despise. They're piggybacking off the Mizrahi who were already here. They're piggybacking off of the Sephardi who were already here, and trying to attach and use our people for their identity while shunning our people.
So we've got now in the current events, Rafah comes up. What do you say about this last area? But it seems like this south, what is it, Southwest Israel, Rafah is in the news a lot. What do you say is going on there that we should be aware of in terms of how it's going to affect us? And I believe the refugee problem, the refugees are going all over the world now carrying the trauma of this area. And now Rafah, where it seems like where all the refugees have been moved to, Rafah, now they're targeting Rafah. Is that what the case is?
Well, let me say this. Hamas was born out of resistance. The leader, this is a little bit of story history about the leader of Hamas, the current leader. He was born in the West Bank. Is the Zionist government at the time when he was a child ethnically cleansed a certain part of Samaria and Judea where he lived, in the West Bank. They ethnic cleansed and ran all the people out. There's tons of history of ethnic cleansing that happened against the Palestinians in the past 70 years.
Yeah.
So he was ethnically cleansed from the area, and he had to grow up in a refugee camp. So of course that's how he grew up. He grew up being victimized and being treated like an animal and everything. And so he eventually took over the Hamas after the original Hamas leader was assassinated while he was old and feeble and basically a paraplegic. Israel killed him as a paraplegic, I believe. So this man, Netanyahu, when Netanyahu came into power, that's when all hell really broke loose, because we were actually, I think it's called Oslo Accords. We were actually getting ready to sign and make peace, and Israel is going to be recognized by the Arab world under who I really admire, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. He was a good man. I admire him a lot. And they assassinated him. But the crazy thing is, it was a Sephardi Jew who assassinated him, who was radicalized by Zionists. That's how poisonous Zionism is. Zionism turns you into an animal. And after that, Benjamin Netanyahu came to power, and he was warned by the West, by Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton. He was warned to leave the Hamas leader alone because they sought to assassinate him. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu had the Mossad go, and I believe he was on a meeting. I can't remember. I think it might be Jordan. I think it was in Jordan. He was having a meeting with the king of Jordan, and they said the Mossad used, the spy techniques, whatever, and stung him with fentanyl. They poisoned him with fentanyl. And so he was in the hospital in a coma. He was basically going to die. And Bill Clinton basically called Netanyahu and literally cussed him out. He was so angry. The U.S. government and the administration was so angry that Benjamin Netanyahu was forced to give him the antidote to revive him, because if he would have died, the peace they were trying to make with Jordan would be dead, and it would have caused mass conflict and everything. Every president since Bill Clinton thinks Benjamin Netanyahu is an ass, including the current administration. They can't stand nobody likes him. Nobody in the diplomatic world, because I work with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs and also the UN, and I'm affiliated with the UN Global Compact. So I get to talk with the dignitaries and the presidents and prime minister. Nobody likes that man. That man, most people in Israel don't like him. Even his own cabinet now don't like him. They told him after the war, you gone. He blocked me on Facebook because I gave him prophetic word that he was gonna fall and he was gonna be overthrown.
So why are they allowing him to do what he's doing?
Well, in 2022, we had some after we had all of these embarrassing elections, which ironically happened after I publicly gave them this prophecy about what was going to happen and everything. They all of a sudden everything became unstable. Everybody became divided, and we went through what 5 or 6. It was in a span of a couple of years. We went through about 5 or 6 elections and everything, and finally, for some reason, they allowed in the election in 2022 these people known as Kahanists to get into the government. Kahanist is the most dangerous type of Jew on the goddamn planet. The U.S. government defines Kahanists as Jewish terrorists. They're on the terrorist list. Kahanists follow the doctrine of Mir Khan. Mir Khan was basically a rabbinical maniac. He created the doctrine of extermination of Palestinians. He created the doctrine that advocates for the poisoning of all the water of the Palestinians, for bombing them, and basically eventually exterminating them for the land. So you got this idiot named Smotrich, and I hope he sees this because they know who I am. I hope this idiot named Smotrich, his name is Smotrich, and then you have Ben Gavir. Ben Gavir looks like the devil himself when you see him. You can look in his eyes and tell there is no light there. These two Kahanis are the ones who are perpetuating and promoting this toxic ideology, and everything is basically being the poster clowns um, of genocide. I even said when they came in office, I said, "Uh-oh, this is the end of Palestine." I already knew it before all of this happened and everything, because this did not start on October the 7th. October
Yeah.
trying to start everything from October the 7th is like being a allopathic nurse and an allopathic doctor, only trying to treat a symptom but not trying to understand the underlying cause and think the symptom is going to go away while the underlying cause is still there. That's palliative in nature, trying to start from October the 7th. But that's how white people are. They're sanctimonious and everything. They think that everything about them is the most important. That's why when they report on the news, everything you hear, black people get killed every day for mass shootings. You hear bombs and people are victims of terrorist attack all throughout Africa and everything. And you'll never get a visual from Fox News, CNN, and everything. But the minute something happened in France, all of a sudden it's a global tragedy. No, it's not. It's a France tragedy. It ain't my tragedy. It ain't Africa's tragedy. So somebody blew up something in Britain or London or something. So all of a sudden it's a tragedy. We got to do vigils and all this stuff here and everything. They make sure to always put their kind of people above everybody else, using media, using education, using politics and everything. That they use the term America's exceptionalism. That's just another cover for white supremacy or superiority and everything. So
Oh,
that's just how they are.
yeah. So Rafa, what about Rafa? What's happening
So
there?
well, basically, I mean, from once Israel attacked the Gaza, they're gonna tell all these people basically to do a Trail of Tears 2.0, how Andrew Jackson did the Native Americans. They're going to tell them, all of you need to evacuate. I want you to think about somebody telling everybody in the city of Chicago, everybody in the city of Orlando, everybody in the city of Atlanta, everybody who's black or Hispanic, you got to get out now, or you're going to get killed, because we're fixing to come in and fight your politicians and everything. So they ethnically cleanse and run everybody out just to go after the mayor and administration of the government of that city. That's what this is like. So they're running people out of these cities are not small.
Right.
And they're bombing these people, and then they say you need to go south because we're going to attack the north. But then while these people are traveling, they're blowing up the ambulances, they're blowing up women and children. Where's the Hamas members? All we're seeing is over almost 30,000 women and children and men who had nothing to do with anything whatsoever with what happened on October 7th, and who've been victims basically all their lives, just being slaughtered and everything, and have nowhere to go because we got cowards in Egypt who got them locked in. We got the clowns in Jordan who don't want to help them while the damn queen is a goddamn Palestinian.
Okay, we're gonna take a break because this is a lot to absorb. And when we come back, let's make a little turn and go to I think it's Haifa, where the Baha'i gardens are.
That's
For
where
some,
my family grew up at.
okay, so we're gonna, because somebody texted me about that, and I'm supposed to ask you about that. So I think when we come back, let's just summarize the history and and start planning a solution for each individual. What is it that we need to do individually to change the energy of hate and violence and murder that you just described? This earth history is crazy. I think we're all ready to move on to no wars and elect people. I mean, there's such a thing, electing people who are not warmongers and so forth. So we're going to take a break, and this is bring us into healing and what we need to do to heal this energy of hate and anger and bitterness,
Absolutely.
so forth.
Right.
So here we go.
Have you ever wondered why some of the healthiest people still get sick? or why the occurrence of learning disabilities like ADHD have drastically increased over the last 50 years?
Why would you leave the camera
How
like that?
is it that the cancer rate has gone from 1 in 8,000 back in the 1910s to 1 in 2 today?
Oh boy.
Isn't it odd that even though we are more focused on health than ever before, that there's still been an increase
This might
in
get news
diseases,
attention, 'cause
disorders,
I'm killing it.
illnesses, and other conditions that destroy your
Huh?
quality of life? What if we told
Oh,
you
I didn't
that the
see it.
very things you're using in your home to avoid these health concerns are actually what's causing them? If you're the decision maker in your home, you know how overwhelming it can be to keep your family safe. Today, we'd like to welcome you and simply provide you with some important information and shed some light on some health concerns you may not be aware of. Over the last 100 years, thousands of toxic chemicals have been introduced into society because of an excessive overstock of chemicals designed for warfare in the Second World War. Today, as the 2013 documentary The Human Experiment states, quote, 42 billion pounds of toxic chemicals enter into commerce every day. That amount would fill up 623,000 tanker trucks. And as we speak, there are over 80,000 such chemicals on the market in the US. Over the last half century, chemical usage has gone up by 2,000%. And it isn't until there are enough people hurt by these products that there are even questions raised. Does this sound familiar? On July 12, 2018, the well-known grocery store brand of talcum and baby powder company, Johnson & Johnson, was ordered to pay a $4.6 billion lawsuit. As it was said, they knowingly covered up asbestos in their product for over 40 years, and we have been trustingly using it on ourselves and our most precious of all things, our newborn babies. As parents, we work hard to keep our families safe and healthy. We diligently try to choose the best brands at the grocery store for our families. After all, keeping a clean home is an important part of good health. But is it possible that cleaning your home is dangerous? 7.3 million American couples have trouble conceiving or carrying a pregnancy to term. This is a 49% increase since 1988. Recent studies have shown that babies that do make it to term are being born pre-polluted, with up to 28 harmful chemicals in their blood, with indicators that over 400 more were present, all without ever eating food, drinking water, or even breathing air yet. It just doesn't make any sense. Studies showed that in 1999, 1 in 500 kids had autism. Today, it's 1 in 59. But the effects don't stop there. As of 2013, the increases over the last 45 years show that life-threatening birth defects has increased 100%. Genital deformities in baby boys has increased 122%. Asthma has increased 80%. Leukemia in children has increased 74%. And ADHD has increased 53%. A 20-year independent study was done by the University of Bergen in Norway. This study started closely tracking a population of 6,235 women and men. They tracked the typical use of home cleaners and how they affect lung tissue of those who use them over a long period of time. Over the course of the study, the participants answered questions about their usage of cleaning products and had their lung capacity tested regularly. In May 2018, the study was published in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, which generated global media attention because their findings from the study clearly showed that significant damage had been done to lung tissue, and that by using national brand cleaners, even only once a week, had the same effect as smoking a pack of cigarettes.
So that information is why we have a war going on right in the United States of America that is affecting people's health. And that company that has put together that information is called Melaleuca. And I've partnered with Melaleuca.com to help people change their life. And so after hearing all that Rabbi-Cohen has described as a history of evil and psychopathic warmongering energy, we still realize that we are one. We are one human family, but we are cousins and brothers and sisters fighting each other. So, melaleuca.com. I invite all of you to go to melaleuca.com. I'm going to put it in the comments to check out this company. I'm partnering with them, especially for the essential oils, because I use a lot of essential oils. And I found out this company provides me all the oils I need, and I can buy nothing but essential oils and maintain my minimum and all that. So anyway, check out melaleuca.com, and that advertisement was all about melaleuca.com. And if you want more information, you can go to my website, yourholisticlifecoach.com. So Rabbi Cohen, for everyone who joined us late, Rabbi-Cohen is an integrative physician. So he has informed me about so many health issues in our country that I'm grateful to you, Rabbi-Cohen, for your Facebook page, because every time I read his Facebook page, I learn something new. And at my age, like I say, one of my goals is to always learn something new so I can prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. And this brother right here is helping me stay young and healthy. So, Rabbi-Cohen, again, thank you. But let us make a summary of what you just shared with us, and let's look at something that's really beautiful in Israel, which is Haifa.
What do you want to know about Haifa?
Well, what is Baha'i Garden? What do you know about Baha'i? Is that a religion or a community that is helping the situation there? Are they kind of neutral? What have you seen going on in Haifa that can even help the people there at all? What is it with Haifa and the Baha'i? Is it like a Garden of Eden?
Well, the Baha'i, let me say this: the Baha'i is one of the most decent religious systems I know in the world. And I do my great grandparents that actually fled and came over here said they lived down the street from the Baha'i. That's how I know of the Baha'i since a child. And so the Baha'i children played with my family and everything. They called the what right down the street and everything. The Baha'i, because my great grandfather was alive when the Baha'u'llah was exiled from Persia, Iran, and put in jail in Haifa. He was in jail when my great grandparents was alive. The Baha'i, I always tell people, I issued a halakhic decree about, I think it was over 10 years ago, that it was permissible for ethnic Jews, Israelites, to attend the Baha'i communities if there was no synagogue in the area, or if they did not identify with the culture and the traditions of the Ashkenazim. Now, there are a lot of good Ashkenazi Jewish brothers and sisters. Jews Not Zionists, the Nudakara, all of them are very good. The Hasidic, the Chabad, very good people. They're different from us culturally. They follow Rabbinic Judaism, of course, and everything. But they're very decent people, and they stand up for the Palestinians and everything. And there's a lot you can learn from them. But as much as I love them, I don't identify with their culture and everything. I visited many synagogues and everything, and the people were wonderful, but I don't like their service format. It reminds me of a Catholic church and Gothic. I'm not into that and everything. I come from a culture. A lot of people don't know. You ever heard of the charismatic movement in Christianity?
Oh yeah.
Okay, the charismatic movement started again around about the 1960s. The charismatics get their style of worship from our culture, Judaism, our branch of Judaism and everything. There used to be a charismatic movement hundreds of years ago. They used to call themselves the Montanists and everything. It was a branch of, I guess you say, messianic Jews or whatever and Gentiles, and they created this Montanism that is based off of the actually based off the scriptures in the Ethiopian Bible, of which over here they call it the pseudepigrapha, like the Testament of Job, where his daughters uh, went into a trance and they spoke the tongues of the angels. That's actually a Jewish concept. That's not a Christian concept. So Montanism was built around that, and then of course the Vatican basically killed him and ran him underground. And then you had the Pentecostalism, you had the Azusa Street revival. I know of all of these things. In fact, one of the brothers, uh, Bishop Carlton Pearson, I knew him personally. He just passed away. He actually tried to carry that on and everything. But
Wait a
that
minute. Wait a minute. You knew Brother Carlton Pearson?
I went to Oral Roberts University.
No,
His
when
church is
you
right down the street from Oral Roberts University.
I started to mention where to ask you if you knew him because I remember that's where he hung out quite a bit. What year were you born, can I ask?
1976.
Okay.
I'm 47.
Okay, so yeah, Carlton, what a story. I loved his worship, his singing, his music, and then you come out with the truth about hell and heaven and people throw you aside. Oh my goodness.
Right. I mean, and that all happened with the rise of Messianic Judaism, that
Yeah.
started to rise as well. And they have that same style and everything. But most people think that style comes from Christianity, but it actually was a Jewish and Israelite concept that they adopted. That's why when people say they hear me teach and they see my style of worship when in our congregations and communities, they mistake me for a charismatic pastor sometimes until I say, no, no, I'm not Christian. I'm Jewish. I'm like, oh wow, there's so much similarity. I was like, yeah, on the surface, it may seem similar, but there's nothing in common between us at all, whatsoever. Um,
Now, do you read or ever study the New Testament?
I'm well versed in the New Testament. I know how to teach the New Testament and teach people what the New Testament does not say. That's written in the English. So I'm
Okay.
very versed in that. That's all part of my theological background and everything. Because I have a master's in rabbinic studies, but I also have an interfaith background as well, and I'm also an interfaith chaplain.
So, Rabbi, with all the knowledge we have about our government uh, being bought and paid for by CPAC and all that, what do you think our responsibility is as Americans with this climate we're in right now? That we hope we know this too shall pass. But in the meantime, what would you say our responsibility is, especially on a spiritual, metaphysical level? What should we be doing while this drama in Middle East plays out?
Well, to finish the point I was making. So I actually issued a decree so people who could not find, because Mizrahi Ethiopian Judaism is not popular in the United States. Ashkenazi Judaism is popular, even though we're the majority in the world. They're the majority here in the United States and in Europe and everything.
Mhm.
So a lot of our people, it's hard to find my brand of Judaism anywhere in the United States and everything. So I told people, if you don't identify with the Ashkenazi culture and rabbinic Judaism, whether it's Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionism, all that stuff, there I said it's okay to go to a Baha'i community and everything. Now, as far as what they're doing, Baha'i are usually just a neutral people, from my understanding. Um, I don't think they get involved with politics and things like that. So I haven't heard much from them with regards to what's going on, but I can tell you that uh, the Baha'i is kind of similar to the Druze. My, I have I have family members that come from the Jews too. In fact, our genetics actually point out that we got Jews in us and everything, because the Jews, they practice a variation of Shia Islam mixed with Essene Jewish tradition.
Oh,
And
really?
most Baha'i, like for Baha'i, carry a genetics that goes beyond just Israel. We have a genetic pattern. If you took my blood right now, because I'm associated with the Druze and everything, when you took the blood or genetic test of any Druze, they would match everybody in the Middle East all the way to Southeast Asia and everything. They would match everybody.
Now the Druze, I'm not familiar with the Druze.
The Druze are a Islamic people who are Arabic and Jewish, um, that has always lived in the Near East and everything. In fact, uh, the Israeli government actually don't bother them at all. They actually are the most respected community in Israel, made up of the Arab and ethnic Jews and everything. They serve in the IDF because it's law and everything. But the Israeli government does not treat the Jews like they treat the Palestinians for
How,
whatever reason.
how do they know the difference though? I mean, they don't look any different, do they?
The Jews are, I mean, the Jews have a step. The Jews are have their culture and religious traditions is almost like a secret order. If you're not a Druze or ethnically related to them, you're not going to get much knowledge from them. They stay with amongst themselves, and they don't really have outsiders and everything. So I'm fortunate to be genetically related, so I could come in. So yeah.
So as far as individual responsibility, what do you think our daily practice should be to change the hate and the war that's going on spiritually, cosmically, universally? How do we individually do something different to diffuse all this horror that we see going on?
When the enemy is showing his ugly face, they're telling you we're going to support Nazis in Ukraine. We're going to let them show their colors and we're going to arm them while we're sitting ducks, while they allow Zionists to commit genocide. Um, and they're just showing their colors and everything. You got the news media, you got Hollywood stars, you got the government officials and everything all rallying behind Nazis. All of them rallying behind Nazis and everything while they're robbing us financially, they're bankrupting us economically. They're making it now. Like here in Atlanta, you got to make almost $70,000. I'm sorry, you have to make at least $3,500 to $4,000 a month just to get a one-bedroom apartment, which is probably the slum because of inflation. You got to have at least $70,000 to $100,000 just to buy your first house as far as income, and it might not be a good-looking house. You got homes that are like almost 40, 50 years old, run down for $200,000. They're robbing us. They're giving it to their people, their kind, their order. They're trying to keep alive neocolonialism and everything while they destroy everything, instigate wars and peace and all of this here. And they're basically putting all of our lives together. They're putting Jewish lives, Arab lives, white lives, black lives, Hispanic lives, Asian lives. They're putting all our lives here in America in danger. You can't make peace with those kind of people. You just can't. You have to stop being afraid and stand up to them and make sure we fight them until we win. What they're doing, and I know it's liberals and everything, and I'm generally a conservative. I'm actually a right-leaning centrist, actually. So I'm actually a middleman that leans to the right. But what I see going on the college campuses around the United States, with the students standing up for what is right. The students are standing up for the people of Palestine. The students are standing up against Nazism. The students are standing up against censorship and everything. And we're seeing these colleges, we're seeing the government, we're seeing officials, we're seeing white people openly try to oppress, try to muzzle, try to find ways to criminalize free speech and protest just because we're criticizing the Zionists. We see DeSantis. I actually helped vote. I voted for DeSantis of Florida, and I regret every day of it because he's a moron. He's out here worrying about all the wrong stuff and everything, taking away the funds from colleges because Palestinians are standing up for their people. What kind of human being would do that?
Who did you say, DeSantis?
DeSantis, the governor of Florida.
Oh yeah,
He disgusts me. He disgusts me.
he's
I voted for him, but he's disgusting me.
well,
So
you know what we've discovered about him. He has a very strong Jewish support, and that's who he's catering to. But what I loved about him is that he kept us safe during COVID madness. He was not putting up with. He was very bold and courageous for all the things he did and said about COVID. He hired Ladapa, this great black, our Surgeon General is the best, courageous. But
Let
you're
me say
right.
this.
Now
Let me say
his character is being questioned because of some of the decisions he's making.
Let me say this. The Torah, the book of Ezekiel, say this. I'm not going to quote it directly, but most who read the scriptures know what I'm talking about. All the good that the scientists did do is similar to all the good that Martin Luther King Jr. did.
Okay.
You know I'm going.
Yeah.
But everything that Martin Luther King did has no meaning of value after he become complacent with raping the pastors raping female parishioners and trafficking them, and the orgies and all of this stuff there, and the affairs he had. All of that went out of the window. He shouldn't be recognized. That's why I can't wait to 2028 when they release 2027 when they release all the documents to get rid of this man and his image, because he's a monster. Well, the same thing with the scientists. All the good that he did during COVID and everything means absolutely nothing when you're sitting up there supporting and aiming for the destruction of the genocide of Palestine, and then use the Bahamas as an example and say to the Bahamas, who ain't never did anything to America, who's never been hostile to America, who's always been friendly to America, and you stand up there as an irresponsible governor and say, if the Bahamas ever tried what the Bahamas did and everything, we'll level them to the ground. This is a moron.
Yeah.
He don't deserve to get credit for nothing, and the Turner Creator is not going to reward him for anything he did for COVID. All that's gone out the door. Just like Martin Luther King, neither one of them, both of them will go to the same place in Gehenna and going to be looking up like fools, wishing they could get something quenched on their tongue. See, I told you I knew the Testament.
Well, I totally understand what you're saying, because the truth is coming out. The truth is being revealed, and it does change our beliefs and how we see other people, especially people who have been put on a pedestal. And Martin Luther King, who would have thought? I mean, there's so much coming out about everybody. All these people we have lifted up and put on a pedestal. When the truth comes out, it's like you got to rethink everything you thought about those people and accept it or not. But I think the bottom line: stop putting people on pedestals. Nobody should be put on. Just receive the teaching. Don't shoot the messenger, but just take the message. That's how I look at it. Because you're right. I didn't know all that. Well, yeah, I mean, we've heard rumors about Martin Luther King, and we didn't know for sure. But yeah, everybody does, skeletons in their closets. So we move on. So what you're saying is that I think for individually, we are responsible for resisting what we know and see is very evil activity and governments that are complicit for genocide of a people. We're seeing it live in color, and we can now discern for ourselves who the parties are responsible for all this.
Anybody who doesn't stand up to fight for what is right is a coward. Anybody that doesn't stand up to try to stop World War III, that's going to be inevitable, is a coward. Whether you're an individual or whether you're a government, the United Nations, the biggest cowards on the planet. You got UN peacekeepers, and you could stop all the genocide and everything, and these warring factions in Africa, somewhat, not exactly true, but you don't have any kind of power and everything to go over there and stop Zionists from slaughtering these people wholesale. You're cowards. That's simple as that. And if you're a coward, you're an enemy to humanity, because these entities, globalists, the World Economic Forum, Zionism, Christian evangelicalism, which is actually the breath and the life of Zionism, they're all enemies of humanity. They're enemies of the Creator Yahweh, because none of them worship him. They're enemies of everything that is good and decent and right about humans. They are the enemies of that. And if we keep letting them have the power, the influence, and do what they want to do wholesale with this neo-colonialism, it's going to come at our door soon. The chickens are going to come home to roost if you don't stand up and everything, because just like the Palestinians are in danger, that's a warning sign that we all are in danger, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're ethnic Jewish. We're all in danger because of what some maniacal entities that are trying to run and control this place and trying to keep an old, outdated, unwelcome system alive. Nobody wants neocolonialism. Like I said, I don't care what people say. I support Russia and I support China in their efforts to get rid of the unipolar system, which is neocolonialism, and replace the world order with a multipolar system where everybody is treated equal. Everybody has a right to their own, a real right to determine their own destiny and everything, where one civilization can impose its values on another civilization. I support it. That's why I'm actually affiliated with the non-alignment movement. And I also support BRICS. But and as much as, and I told him, I said, if you want, you can always release me and you can cancel my membership and you cancel my affiliations. But I'm always going to criticize the United Nations as worthless and inept.
Are you familiar with Gabor Mate?
I've heard of his name.
Okay, he is a strong anti-Zionist. He's a Holocaust survivor, and he's a medical doctor who has spent a lot of time in Canada working with addicts and trying to help and with therapy for their trauma and all that. So his words recently, after he watched the trailer for that documentary I told you about, Israelism, were that we're going to see more trauma in our lives as a result of this war. Trauma from people who have left the war, trauma from people who live here and who have family over there. So his statement was like a warning to prepare to respond to the people around us with trauma. He thinks it's going to be really an epidemic because of what's going on over there. So in your work as a physician, do you see any signs of that type of trauma just from in your neighborhood or just people in general?
There's trauma everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm actually on beginning March 1st. I'm actually going to be the leading physician of the new wellness center. It's basically like a hospital here in Atlanta, of the Sickle Cell Foundation. I was selected to actually start running that and everything. But I want to say this first though. Make no mistake about it. I'm not anti-Zionist. I am anti-Zionism in its current form. And make no mistake about it, that my criticism and my stance against Zionist Jews does not equate my stance against Israel. I would never stand with an anti-Zionist who calls for the dismantling of the government of the state, the nation of Israel. Because basically what you're saying is now our people inside the government, inside Israel, needs to be ethnically cleansed. Keep in mind, there's Arabs in Israel that are Israeli. We got ethnic Jews, Ethiopian, Beta Israel. We have Druze. We have people from India. We have different races and all kind of peoples and everything inside Israel. Israel is one of the top, most innovative technological power nations in the world,
right,
in comparison to all the Asian nations. 90 seconds. So there is good that comes from our people like it's supposed to amongst the righteous. My thing is we need to get rid of the ideology of Zionism so that Israel can live up to the ideals of the Torah as it's supposed to. And that also includes our Ishmaelite brothers and sisters, because in our Dead Sea Scroll scriptures and the Ethiopian scriptures, it is referenced that Ishmael is also chosen with Israel. So Ishmael and Israel are both chosen people, and that's the position that I hold dear.
So where can people, is your Facebook full? Are you accepting new followers?
Absolutely. Anybody can request a friendship or follow.
Okay. So his name is right, Dr. Rabbi-Cohen Shalomim HaLahawi, is it? HaLahawi. If you'd like to contact him. And I'm just really, again, I'm grateful for all that you share on Facebook, because I learn something new every time I read your post. Right. And do you want to give out any phone numbers where people can reach you? Or just go to your do you have a website?
Yes, we do have a website. We just actually, because I own my own servers, and so we had to we was rebuilding, and I just actually put it back up and everything. Still, we got the radio station live, but I'm still putting up the section where all my articles and publishings and everything. That'll be back on there in the next couple of weeks. But you can still go and listen to the radio station, and you can automatically select teachings and everything. It's WITCC Awakening Radio. If you go to Mizrahi-Judaism.hop2.com, I could type it in here. Let me see.
Yeah, put that in if you can for us. Yeah, because I think well, again, one of the things we can do individually is stay informed, and it's you people like you who will inform us of the truth and what's really going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me get that. And so I want to just encourage everyone to stay in touch with Rabbi and find people on YouTube who are teaching the truth. And you have to discern that. I watch YouTube all the time, and I make comment. And you know what I love about YouTube? I read the comments. While people are talking on YouTube, I'm reading the comments because I want to know what people are thinking and how they're responding or reacting to whatever message is being given. So I encourage people to do that. Whenever you and here's for those of you there, I'm putting his website up on the chat. Whenever you watch YouTube, read the comments, and you'll get an idea if 100% of the comments you read are agreeing with the speaker or the conversation, then that gives you kind of a measuring stick of what the people in all over the world are thinking, because the comments coming from people all over the world, not just the United States. That's what I love about YouTube. So any final words, Rabbi? We're actually, I can't believe it, at the end of the show. Any final words? And thank you to your beautiful wife for showing up and supporting you in this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, both sides are innocent and everything. Because, like I said, there's been wars and instigation of wars, like the surprise Yom Kippur War, the 1967 war, and the hate between the two. Both sides, there's a lot of fault on both sides and everything. Because just like the Ashkenazim created the Nakba against the Palestinians, people forget that the Arabs created a Nakba against my people who were all in North Africa and the Arab world and everything, and expelled us out of sheer misinformation because they associated with them when we had nothing to do with them. So when you address this issue, if you're just on the pro-Palestine and just destroy Israel, or you on the destroy Palestine and pro-Israel, taking a stance for either solely, you're wrong. If you don't take a balanced view to this and try to come up with a viable solution to stop this mess and to stop these negative, destructive ideologies, then you got blood on your hands too. And if you're not going to fight for what is right, you're a coward.
Yeah, well said, my brother. Love you so much, and your beautiful blessings and prosperity to you and your family. Keep doing what you're doing. I love it, and I share your works all the time with friends and family. So have a beautiful week, and we got to do this again. Let's not wait a whole year. We'll see how things are going in the next 6 or 8 months. So
just let me know.
We got to come back and talk about politics one time.
Absolutely.
All
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on here. I appreciate it.
Shalom and Erev Tov. Everybody, we're going to play our global ending now. Thank you to all our friends all over the world.
Shalom.
Shalom.
We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every show in the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/thefemalesolution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows, listen to our radio shows, order our books, and be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussion. And to our global family listening from all around the world, we say, our family in China, Sheshe,
Sheshe.
India, Zanyaba,
Sanyaba.
Japan, Arigato,
Arigato.
Korea, Kamsamida,
Samsamida.
Russia, Spasiba,
Spasiba.
Germany, Danke,
Donkey.
Poland, Jean-Kujun,
Jonkinyong.
France, Merci,
Merci.
Spain, Gracias,
Gracias.
Italy, Grazie,
Grazie.
Egypt, Shukran, Ghana, Medasi,
Madasi.
Nigeria, Eshe,
Eshe.
South Africa, Nyabonga,
Niabonga.
Senegal, Geret,
Get it.
Kenya, Asante,
Asante.
Israel, Toda,
Todaraba.
Pakistan, Shukriya, Afghanistan, Tashakur,
Tashakur.
Saudi Arabia, Shukran.
Shukran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. And may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.
And to all my yogi friends out there, namaste and satnam and aloha to all my friends in Hawaii. Stand strong, Lahaina, stand strong. We love you. We send you lots of courage and protection. Shalom, everyone. Have a great evening. And don't forget,
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
Zelda tomorrow morning on the Female Solution. Monday morning mindfulness. See you